All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we're going to talk about Dak Prescott and what possible destinations, or the possible destinations he could end up, what team he could end up going to if it's not the Cowboys in 2025. And there's a handful of teams that could maybe need a new quarterback. So I just kind of wanted to go through, there's a couple articles about where he could possibly end up. So these are the teams that were listed. So you have the Raiders. The Giants are a team, which is interesting because, Giant fan here. He plays for the Cowboys. You got the Titans. The Titans were listed. The Steelers, the Panthers, the Seahawks. Also, the Rams were listed. And then there were wild cards. The Saints and the 49ers. I don't think the 49ers. I think that's Purdy's team. That one, but that's why they labeled it as a wild card. But yeah, no, the 49ers, yeah, that's not happening. Because also you have so many that you have players that you got to pay. I mean, you got Ayuk that's looking for a new deal. You just paid Christian McCaffrey. I mean, you got the guys on Nick Bosa. I think they paid him already. I think. But yeah, Purdy's gonna be looking for a new deal. You don't want to bring in a guy that's gonna be that the number was like $60 million for Dak. So yeah, the Saints could be interesting because I mean if Derek Carr doesn't have a good year, then maybe they want to move off of him. So with the Giants, as a Giant fan, how would I feel if the Giants got Dak Prescott? Well, he'd be an upgrade over Daniel Jones. But, would this, as a Giant fan, would this elevate the Giants to a new level? Yes. But, would I look at look at them as this elite team if we got Dak Prescott? No. I mean, now it's not because of just Dak. They have talent on the team, but I still think the Giants have, some work to do before you could look at this team as being a legit contender. And one of the main issues is the quarterback position. But I don't know. I think also just because Dak is going to command for a big contract, I really wouldn't be that interested. Just from the money aspect. I think if the Giants did bring in Dak, the Giants would instantly be a better team. But again, I don't really look. And really, that goes for all these teams. I don't really look at Dak as a guy that's going to elevate your team to, hey, we could be Super Bowl contenders. I don't really see that. We kind of know what he is at this point. Been in the league since 2016. He's got 2 playoff wins. I mean, again, he could get you to the playoffs, but can he get you far in the playoffs? And that has not been the case with the Cowboys. And the Cowboys have a lot of talent. That first season with Ezekiel Elliott and the offensive line and Dez Bryant and Jason Witten, that could have been the year for them. But it didn't happen. And I think Dak is a better player than he was his rookie season because, Zeke's first couple of seasons, that was his team. But, then it kind of became Dak's team. And once it became Dak's team, yeah, I mean, he's put up good numbers in the regular season, but he gets to the postseason and he just, he doesn't do well. But yeah, the Giants could be a spot for him. But yeah, I don't think so. The Raiders is interesting because right now you have Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell, and they're kind of I feel like they're kind of in no man's land because I do think the Raiders. I think the team can be decent this year and win some games, and they finished 8-9. I mean, if Antonio Pierce didn't take over and Josh McDaniels finished out the year, I mean, who knows what kind of record this team would have ended up with. But they really responded to Antonio Pierce, and they got good weapons on the offensive side of the ball. I've talked about them a lot. I know there's no more Josh Jacobs, and we talked about the backfield last week with Zamir White and Alexander Madison. That was last week, right? Or was it this week? I don't even remember. It might have been Monday, might have been Friday of last week. I don't remember. I forget what day it is. But the Raiders could be a good spot for him because, like I said, they're kind of in no man's land. But yeah, I mean, that contract it's gonna be a huge hit. But yeah, I mean, you got Devontae Adams, you got Jacoby Myers, you got a couple of good tight ends, you drafted Brock Bowers. That could be a good spot for Dak. So I actually would like that. I do like that spot for him. The Titans is interesting. And I guess that has to do with, if Will Levis is the guy or not. Because if he doesn't play well, because they did add weapons. I mean, they got him Ridley, they got him Tyler Boyd, you got Tony Pollard, and I guess it's going to be more of a committee with him and Tajay Spears. And then you still got D-Hop there. You drafted an offensive lineman. Yeah, I mean, the Titans went out and they made moves to help Will Levis. And now it's on him to go out there and perform. And if he doesn't do that, well, then, the Titans might have to go out and look for a different quarterback. And Dak Prescott is possibly going to be available. So he could be an option. You got the Steelers on here as well. I don't know if the Steelers are going to. I think they're kind of locked in with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. I think, I think at least one of these guys will be on the team in 2025, so I don't think Dak is going to be a guy that they would bring in. But who knows? Maybe it just goes horribly. I mean, they completely changed their quarterback room from last year to this year. Maybe it's the same thing if it doesn't work out with Fields and Russell Wilson. Then there's also the Panthers with Bryce Young. And I don't know. I think also the other thing too is Dak wants to end up in a situation where he knows, like, hey, we're gonna make the playoffs, and I can help this team get there. The Panthers, I mean, we got to see. Let's see how this year goes with the Panthers, because I didn't have them winning a lot of games once again. I'm not very high on the Panthers. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope that Bryce Young ends up being the guy, because, yeah, it was a rough rookie season for him. But they did draft a receiver. They traded for Deontay Johnson as well. So the receiving core should be somewhat better. They also drafted a running back. They added to the offensive line. So I think the Panthers will be somewhat better. And if Bryce Young goes out there and has a good year, then the Panthers can exhale a little bit. But, we'll have to wait and see on that. Then a couple other teams, the Seahawks. I mean, that could be an interesting spot for him. I mean, the Seahawks, I like their roster a lot on the offensive side of the ball. They got 3 good receivers. They got 2 good running backs. I mean, that could be a good spot for him. It's interesting because there's no more Pete Carroll, and we'll see how Mike McDonald does his first season. I know I had the Seahawks going like 7-10, but I don't think they're going to finish with this horrible record now that Pete Carroll's not there. I think, yeah, they might finish with the losing record, but I don't think it's going to be. I mean, I don't think 7-10 is horrible, but I mean, it's not great. But yeah, I mean, it's his rookie season for the head coach Mike McDonald. So I mean, I don't think we're expecting him to, go 12-5 and make the playoffs. No, but we'll see. I think if Dak ended up there, that'd be a good spot for him too, because of the playmakers that he would have around him. So, and then also the Rams were listed too. I mean, I guess it really all depends on how Matthew Stafford is. I mean, last year he played really well. So I mean, I don't expect Stafford to drop off yet. I think he's still got some good years left in him. So I don't think that's going to happen. But the Saints could be a possibility because, like I said before, with the wild cards, they had the Saints and the 49ers listed. This was on Fox Sports, the article that I was looking at. So I would probably say, I'd say the Raiders could be I think the Raiders would be a good spot. Yeah, I mean, the Giants, they could use a quarterback. I don't know if that's going to happen. I feel like the Raiders could be the most likely spot for him. I think that. I mean, maybe the Titans if Will Levis doesn't pan out, but the Raiders is kind of the one that I would circle. And you also heard Marcus Spears on ESPN. He talked about it that, if I'm the Raiders and, Dak Prescott's available, you go out and get him. I think that would I think that'd be a good spot for him. But that's the one I see most likely to happen. But again, I'm not an insider. I don't have insider information. But that's just me. Because the Rams, I think they'll still have Stafford. The Panthers with Bryce Young, I don't think he's going to want to go there. The Seahawks, I mean, if the opportunity presents itself, I feel like that would be a good spot for him, a very good spot for him with the playmakers they have. But I don't know. Pittsburgh, I think it's going to be either Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. But that, again, we're in June, so and we'll see how the season plays out, and then my opinion's going to change. But yeah, that's my thoughts. But I mean, if he ended up on the Giants, that I don't know how. Like, how would Giant fans feel about it? Well, I am a Giant fan. How would I feel? I mean, again, be an upgrade over Daniel Jones. He puts up solid numbers during the regular season, but I'm not expecting. I wouldn't be expecting the team to go to the Super Bowl with Dak. I don't expect it. Because, yeah, I mean, he's been in the league since 2016. We know what he is at this point. And, he's had a lot of great weapons over the years. I mean, most recently now he's got CeeDee Lamb. But, yeah, there was, obviously he started out with Des Bryant, then you had Amari Cooper, and then you got CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup when he was good, because his level of production. I mean, well, now he's kind of, he became like that third or fourth option. Well, now he's actually with the Raiders, so if, Dak goes to the Raiders, Michael Gallup's there. Forgot about him. The Raiders adding him. But, yeah, I mean, wherever Dak goes, I think he'll be productive, but again, you're probably going to see more of the same like you've seen in Dallas, where you get a good regular season out of him, you get to the playoffs, and you don't go far. That's really how I look at it. So, that's my thoughts on it. Let me know what you guys think. What team do you think Dak Prescott will end up on if it's not with the Cowboys? Because maybe he gets paid tomorrow. Who knows? So, we're going to take our final break of the show. And speaking of getting paid, or looking for a new contract, we're going to talk about Alvin Kamara of the Saints, looking for a new deal. We'll talk about that, and I'll give you my thoughts on it when we come back from our final break of the show. So for one final time today, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.